What if we grow together? Live in grace, love forever. I wanna go to the growth point. If I had my way, I wanna go to the growth point. Can we do it today? What if we grow together? Live in grace, love forever. I wanna go to the growth point. If I had my way, I wanna go to the growth point. Can we do it today? La 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 la. I wanna go to the growth point. If I had my way, I wanna go to the growth point. Can we do it today?
Now it doesn't have to take you as long as it took me to get there, but you've got to get in position. You've got to realize that this is your chance, and you've got to realize that this is your moment. The word now is such a pregnant word. It is full of possibilities. The gift of now that caused a young group of underrepresented persons to say, this may be my chance. Because this is your moment. Somebody say, this is my moment.
Welcome to the study through the gospel of mental health. Yes, the good news. I'm Stacey McDonald. Many of you all know me, of course, from preaching and things of that nature, but you may not know that my education and employment is in the field of psychology. I am a practicing school psychologist, and of course, as a former lead pastor of 10 years, I've provided biblical counseling to couples and families and individuals in crisis. Now, I also know what it is to need help and to reach out desperately for it, as I once suffered myself from depression. Now, that's my educational and a small piece of my personal background. But as we'll discuss just a little bit later, every single background has a background. I was born in a two-parent Christian home with 3 other siblings. We were an ideal family, and everything was normal until it wasn't. When my father reached his mid to late 20s, he began exhibiting very bizarre behaviors, and he was diagnosed as being possessed with devils by the church. But medical professionals diagnosed him having schizophrenia. Now, to suffer from any illness is difficult enough, regardless of what the illness is. But then to suffer social isolation as well as demonization because of that illness is absolutely inhumane. It's these experiences, this background that led me to my current background in psychology, and then the Holy Spirit and I coming together and writing the gospel of mental health, from mental health to mental wellness. Because the truth of the matter is, no one wakes up and says, I want to suffer from severe mood swings today. No one wakes up with a fresh cup of coffee and says, I want to frighten my family to death by being suicidal. How fun would that be? No one wakes up and says, I want to, in a manic phase, spend all of my earnings and engage in other risky behaviors sexually and financially. This is why it is imperative that we gain a sense of mental health awareness. Yes, a healthy perspective, and certainly a biblical perspective. Issues related to mental health for each of us are either past, present, and or future. You either have or you will deal with issues related to mental health. Not only that, but you also know someone who has or is or will. Whether you have your own mental health struggles and are unsure as if you should seek help, and if you love someone who's struggling and need a better understanding of what they're going through, you have tuned in to the right place today. Now, if you could just please close your eyes, humor me, just close your eyes just for a moment. When you think of mental health, what do you picture? What do you think it is? What do you think it's not? What does it look like? Who does it look like? Who doesn't it look like? Is it perhaps the man on the side of the street who's asking for money? Is it the admin on your job with a smile on her face? Is it the person talking to himself on the street? Do you picture a minister, a drug addict? Do you picture that lady at the bus stop? Is it the homeless person who reeks of urine? Is it you? Is it me? Is it someone you love? Go ahead and open your eyes. Mental health disguises itself in so many different ways. A person with a mental health disorder could be sitting right next to you and you would have no idea. The homeless person could very well be someone who simply lost his job and could not get back up on his feet, whereas the woman and man smiling and laughing could be experiencing depression or suicidal ideation. Now, mental health is simply your and I ability to understand and process information and experiences. Our mental health has endured quite a bit of mental hell over the past few months, right? More than a few months, more than perhaps even a couple of years. For some of us, before the pandemic hit, we were already struggling from mental health issues. Now, because it's your mental health, what I want you to do is I want you to imagine a picture. All right. And in the center of that picture is going to be your face. So I want you to picture your skin color. I want you to picture the shape of your face, the shape of your nose, and so on. What we're going to do is we're going to add colors around you based upon your relationships. Right? So we have you in the center of the picture, and then around you, we're going to add some colors based on your relationships. And so you're going to see a picture of a relationship palette. Yes, a color palette that represents your relationships. We're all going to be artists today. So let's begin, yes, with painting your relationships around you. After all, your relationships are a great indicator of how you feel about you. So looking at your color palette, which color would you use as a representation of your relationships? Would they be rich colors? Would they be shallow colors? Would they be dark colors? For the purposes of painting your mental health picture, the colors that you use do have meaning. Rich colors such as that red and purple to be a representation of fulfilling relationships in your life. The relationships that encourage you to be the very best version of you. Those relationships that are not so focused on what you have, but they're more focused on who you are. Or your colors may be more shallow. Those light yellows and light blues, which are a representation of relationships that have been formed out of sheer convenience. It's not that it's bad for you, but you also wouldn't say that it's good for you. Maybe the person that you're dating is out of sheer convenience. They're just someone filling a space. Perhaps you have so many walls from past hurts that you only allow shallow relationships. The moment things get deep, you run. Or maybe your schedule is so busy that you simply not made time to invest in rich, fulfilling relationships. And so you settled for relating to a colleague or an acquaintance as a bestie. Finally, perhaps the colors that you choose would be more dark, that dark gray and those blacks. These colors would be a representation of toxic relationships in our lives. Relationships that include manipulation, abuse, dishonesty, jealousy, power, and control. They may include relationships with a parent, an adult child, or maybe a family member. Anyone whose current or previous picture has an abundance of dark colors understands how toxic relationships have a profound impact on our mental health. With the colors of your mental health picture surrounding your beautiful face, your handsome face, would those colors be primarily bright and vibrant? Would they be dark or shallow? Are you satisfied with the colors for your picture? Now, what I want you to do is I want you to look at the color palette and I want you to point out which of the colors are most prominent for your relationships. Pick just 3 or 4. Would they be more rich colors? Would they be more shallow colors? Would they be more dark colors that are more prominent in regard to your relationships right now? Just want you to chew on that. That's all right. Just chew right there. Let's go deeper. Now that we've picked out the colors for our mental health picture, let's take a short moment and we're going to watch a video.
How many passes does the team in white make?
Now tell me, how many passes did they make in that video?
The answer is 13. But did you see the moonwalking bear?
Did anybody see the moonwalking bear? Why didn't you see the moonwalking bear? Okay, maybe you were distracted. Maybe you weren't paying attention. So what you're telling me, and what we often do in life, is we don't pay attention to the background. We completely miss the background. It's easy to miss something, as he said, that you're not looking for. How often do we really pay attention to the background? Until it comes to the forefront, that is. With the colors of our mental health picture in mind, let's go to the background of our picture. The background of our picture reveals our belief systems, such as faith and hope. And I know you love Jesus, but there are times that our Christianity comes into conflict with the reality of other belief systems, those antagonists such as bitterness and fear or resentment. Simply stated, our belief system is more than just our faith. Our belief system could actually be that others are not trustworthy. It may be that we are not enough. It may be that it's unsafe to step beyond the status quo. Now, as the video revealed, accurately identifying the background, aka the belief system, can be very tricky. It's similar to asking a fish, "Hey fish, how's the water?" The fish would say, "What water?" Because when you're so immersed in something, when something has become such a big part of your life for so long, it's no longer readily noticeable. It's just life. It's just the background. That being said, we must consider our background because it serves as the backdrop of our mental health. Think about the colors that we chose as being a representation of our relationships. Have you noticed the relationships you form have similar characteristics or qualities? This may happen because our background has remained the same. Because even though the furniture may be different, it was still picked out based upon an unchanged background. So here we are trying to make it match the background, trying to make it go together. You're trying to create a whole mood, but really what we may need is a whole new scene, a whole new background. For instance, when you think about how your belief systems were formed, consider this. What conversations did you hear growing up? Were they affirming or demoralizing? If most of the statements that you heard regarding who you are and who you would become were demoralizing, you may have a belief system that you are less than or that you are unworthy. And this may be your background, yes, even as a Christian. If instead you've had more affirming messages about your intelligence, your potentiality, or creativity, you may have a belief system that you can do anything, and there is your background. Was there a curriculum taught in your family that love hurts via a front row seat to the cycle of abuse and power and control? Hence, a belief system that love hurts, love kicks, love screams, love yells, love manipulates, love isolates, love lies. This may be your background. Have you experienced something in your life that you didn't even realize was trauma? You thought it was just everyday life, but those lessons taught have become belief systems lived. I am a Christian, but my past experience of being in a violent relationship showed up in a moment that my Christian faith did not. My husband and I have been married for a few years, and our relationship from day one has been one of love and support, and certainly one where we encourage one another to be the very best version of ourselves. That's that rich color right there. He is absolutely the most gentle man that I have ever met on this planet. However, I had a belief system that had been formed by trauma. And regardless of how good he was to me, the belief system, the background of my picture had not changed. One day when we were sitting down together watching a movie, he was sitting on the couch. I was sitting beneath him on the floor. And all of a sudden, out of the side of my eye, his arm, I saw it swiftly raised towards me. Now, unbeknownst to me, there was a spider on my shoulder. And he knows that I despise spiders. So rather than alert me, he proceeded to attempt to try and swipe it quickly off me. Now, when I saw his hand come toward me, My heart raced. I simply was paralyzed. It felt like I was frozen in time. And all that he could do was hold me while I was in the fetal position. He didn't say any words, he just held me. Mental health being the ability to understand and process information and experiences shows that I was pretty mentally unhealthy at the time and saved. I couldn't process the experience and I folded in fear and distrust because my background was trauma. Medical professionals would call it PTSD. The background of my mental health picture came to the forefront. As much as he showed me throughout the years that he was gentle and he was kind, my belief system had not yet been converted to that truth. I was a Christian, but in that moment, my being a Christian really didn't matter. My belief system of distrust and suspicion and fear overrode every other belief system in my life. Now, thankfully, that was the last time that anything like that has ever happened between us, because eventually my belief system converted to my reality, which was that of a loving and healthy marriage. I changed my old background for a new one. I got a whole new scene. I will say again, your belief system is the background of your picture, and that background is often a navigator to what needs to be healed in our lives. Whatever your belief system is will remain as the background of your mental health picture until you fully process healing and convert to a healthier belief. Now that we've talked about the background, I want you to think about your past. I want you to think about some belief systems that you may feel need to be changed. If you would, just make a note that you're going to ponder that later. Are there some belief systems in your life that need to be changed or at least challenged? If your background, like mine, also needs to be converted to healthier beliefs, the gospel of mental health, from mental health to mental wellness, is going to help bring an awareness to the background of your mental health and help navigate you toward a brighter picture with more rich and vibrant colors. All right. Now, we've got our colors in place. We've got our background in place. And now we're going to need a frame. All right. We're going to need a frame for our picture. What negative coping strategies do we usually use when it comes to dealing with stress, dealing with grief, dealing with loss, dealing with pain? What are some negative coping strategies? For some, it is overeating, undereating, drinking, drug abuse, sleeping, oversleeping, sex. All those things are negative coping strategies that we use many times to deal with stress, loss, grief, upset. All right. Now, there are also positive coping strategies that, if we would allow ourselves to go there, it will allow our picture to be much more beautiful. And when I say picture, it's literally your mental health. It would allow it to be so much more beautiful. And those positive coping strategies are exercise, journaling, meditation, mindfulness, grounding. So many things that we can do, deep breathing, to ensure that when life happens, that we actually happen back rather than just lay down and take it. Now that we have those coping strategies, both negative and positive, we want to put this on our picture. Because we've all had a very rough few years, but how did we cope with it? Did we increase drinking, eating, casual sex? Did we lean on community, journal, exercise? Did we engage in worship service? What did we do? Healthy and negative. We'll delve into some of these positive coping mechanisms in just a moment, but even if you don't raise your hand to testify, how not only useless, but harmful are the negative coping mechanisms. So I'm already stressed out, but now I'm stressed out and I'm hungover. I'm already hurt, but now I'm hurt and I'm unhappy with my weight. I'm already frustrated. Now I'm frustrated and I gotta repent. Now that our picture is complete with a few of the main components of mental health, relationships, belief systems, coping strategies, now that our picture is complete with a few of those things, is the picture that you've painted something that you would place in a prominent room in your home? Or is it something perhaps that you may try to hide under the bed? Does the painting bring you peace or joy, or does it perhaps generate concern? Your picture, as good or as bad as you may have painted it, is only a snapshot of you in the present moment. You've already taken the first step toward changing and repainting your picture by simply showing up. The truth is, you deserve to have a beautiful and healthy painting to view through your thoughts and your actions. Until the next time, I hope that you would take the opportunity to answer the questions that were asked of you, that you will take the opportunity to read through the rest of the book along with the journaling opportunities, and simply that you will allow that to minister to you through it all. I love you. God bless you. Bye-bye.
What if we grow together? Live in grace, love forever. I wanna go to the growth point. If I had my way, I wanna go to the growth point. Can we do it today? What if we grow together? Live in grace, love forever. I wanna go to the growth point. If I had my way, I wanna go to the growth point. Can we do it today? La 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 la. I wanna go to the growth point. If I had my way, I wanna go to the growth point. Can we do it today?
He's a good God. Somebody give him a real good praise. Now it doesn't have to take you as long as it took me to get there, but you've got to get in position. You've got to realize that this is your chance, and you've got to realize that this is your moment. The word now is such a pregnant word. It is full of possibilities. The gift of now that caused a young group of underrepresented persons to say, this may be my chance. Because this is your moment. Somebody say, this is my moment.